I've got a couple of brand new watches that have been sent out to the channel. It's a Scandinavian company called About Vintage. One of them's a quartz, one of them's an automatic, a very vintage classic design with modern elements. Let's check them out. Welcome back, guys. So I'm always on the lookout for different companies or different watches, different brands. And look, this company is quite interesting because you know what? I've got a couple of different watches here. One's, like I said, one's an automatic, one's a quartz, completely different designs, but they're very vintage, classic vintage inspired with some modern elements. And I wanted to get them on the channel to see if they're any good, because I was actually quite drawn, especially to this one here. I was quite drawn to its design and I liked it. And I thought, let's just see in the hand just how good these watches are. Their timepieces offer a couple of different quirks that I think are beneficial for the end user, the buyer. Things like free personal engraving on their watches, an extra strap with each watch that you purchase, free shipping worldwide and free returns. And one of the watches is called a turtle. And each one of these watches that is sold, they give back to the endangered species of the green turtles. So there's a couple of good things going on here that I wanted to get on the channel. So what I'll do is review both of these watches side by side, and at the end I'll give you guys a sum up of what I don't actually like about these watches and what I do. So getting stuck straight into it, what we've got on the left, this is called the 1926 automatic. It comes in at $479, and the 1926 at sea turtle, the one on the right, the blue, comes in at $300. But in saying that, they've also given me a discount code for all my followers. You just type my name in, Peter Kotsa, at checkout, and you get 15% off all their watches. So without further ado, the case dimensions of these watches, as you can see, they both feature around a 39 to 39.5 millimeter case diameter. I measure 40 mil at the bezels on both of them. The case heights, the 1926 automatic is 13.4 mil, the lug to lug is 46.2, and a lug width of 20 mil. The at-sea turtle comes in at 11.9 millimeters case height, 47.3 mil lug to lug, and again 20 mil lug width. Now the crowns on both watches are screw down crowns. The automatic is a 5.7 millimeter and offers 100 meters of water resistance, whereas the quartz is a 6.4 millimeters and offers 200 meters of water resistance. And the weights of both watches come in at 114 grams for the automatic and 138 grams for the quartz. And in sharing those specs about the weight, I had a very interesting experience with this particular watch. You can see this one's on a bracelet. And they actually asked me, when I was liaising back and forth on email, they actually asked me, what's your wrist size? And I told them 18 centimeters. And I didn't know why, but they sent the watch, and this particular one was actually sized to my 18 centimeter wrist. Straight on. So have a look at this. This is straight out of the box. There you go. Perfect. I don't have to do anything. That's spot on. So I like that. I like that. They went out of their way to size the bracelet for me. Now, while I've got it on the wrist, as you can see, the watch fits quite nice. Like I said, this is a 39.5 millimeter case diameter. However, I measure the bezel at 40 mil. As you can see, the case height, which comes in at 11.9 with that box sapphire crystal, it sits quite nice. Nice, comfortable bracelet. For a sports diver at 200 meters of water resistance, quite a decent offering. You got male end links on that bracelet, which does extend that lug to lug distance. However, it still sits really decent on the wrist. Now the 1926 automatic, on the other hand, looks a little bit more vintage to me. And I think this was the one that I was actually drawn to. The design, I like it. I actually like what they've done here. It looks really, really nice, especially with that sandwich dial. As you can see, the lume plots and the handset. I think it suits the aesthetic. It looks really good. The case size on this is 39 mil, but I measure the bezel at 40 millimeters and the case height at 13.4 mil. To the top of that box sapphire crystal sits really good. This comes in at 12 mil without that crystal. So ideally the experience is actually quite nice on the wrist. And as you can see, the comfort factor on this, it hugs the wrist. They've supplied with a mesh bracelet on this particular Milanese style. I think it suits the vintage aesthetic. Now my key concern when getting watches or when spending my own money my key concern about watches is quality. Are they any good, or are they offering value for money? And sometimes I might even sacrifice value for money as long as the watch ticks certain other boxes for me. But with these particular ones, look, as far as quality build, I've not had an issue with both. They seem to be finished really nicely. One looks smaller, one looks bigger, obviously with the bezel sizes, but let's have a look at the bezels. Let's have a look at the action of both of these bezels. So on the 1926 automatic, it's very delicate. It's very delicate, it's very fine. It feels, you know what? It feels like I'm opening up a safe, like I'm a safe cracker. That's how subtle this thing is. And little bit of backplay, nothing major, but yeah, it's vintage. It's really delicate in its experience. The 1926 at Sea Turtle, same thing. The exact same bezel. I like that. I'm glad they've got the same bezel. That shows me that they're basically using the same mechanism in both watches. Very, very delicate. This one seems to have a little bit more backplay, and it lines up. Now, the only gripe that I found that throughout the week, the bezel is such a soft, delicate experience. I found it moved. Not on this one, on this one here. For some reason, I just found that, you know, it was moved 1 or 2 notches. Obviously, I've bumped it somewhere, but yeah, it is a very subtle, delicate experience in moving that bezel. So, needed to share that with you guys. Now, as far as the insert's concerned, as you can see, they're aluminium inserts. This one here has got a lume pip. This one's got no lume. So, looking at the lume of both watches, they're just so-so. They're pretty much just okay. Probably the best word to describe the lume, it's vintage. So in other words, back then the lume wasn't that good. I think they've replicated in this. This is following along those lines. And look, that's a shame. It would have been great to have better lume on both of these watches. Now, I did mention that the watches offer free engraving on the case backs, and look, I got them to engrave this PK67 2022. Just as an example to see what the quality is like, what their finishing is like. And look, some people are into that. Get your own personalized message at the back of a watch just to make it your own. So it's good to see. Now, before I get onto the negatives and positives of these watches, the movements of both these watches are completely different. Like I said, this is a quartz. This particular one offers a TMI VH31 Japanese quartz. It's got a sweeping seconds. As you can see, that seconds hand, it's relatively, look, it looks almost like a low beat automatic, which is not too bad. Whereas the 1926 automatic comes with a Miyota 8215. It's got 42 hours power reserve, 21,600 vibrations per hour, but no hacking. Now, in saying all that, what is it that I do and don't like about these watches? And my dislikes, number one is that lume. It would have been great to see a little bit better lume on both of these watches, as well as potentially a lume triangle at the top. Although I can see what they've done a vintage design. Back in the day, they never had lume on those bezels. They've basically replicated that. So second negative of these watches is that Miyota 8215. Personally, I would have liked the 9 series Miyota with hacking, high beat as well, and I think they probably would have done a little bit nicer with the height. Not that it needs it, that height is fantastic, it has been a good experience, but yeah, it would have been better, personally, for a hacking seconds hand on that movement. The next negative on these watches is that crown. It is a little bit too small on the actual 1926 model. The quartz one's actually quite good. That's a 6.4 mil. I've not had an issue with that. That's easy. That's great. This particular one here, it is too small for my fingers. It's 5.7 mil. It just needed to be that little bit bigger. Another negative is potentially, again, that water resistance. There's only 100 meters on this one. There's 200 on this. I don't see why they couldn't have made this with 200 meters of water resistance. The case seems chunky enough. In fact, it's almost as chunky as that. So that would have been ideal as well, just for peace of mind, I suppose. And the last negative is probably those end links. They are male, they do extend the lug-to-lug distance of the quartz model, but the end links ideally should have been female as a more versatile option for smaller wrists. Now, as far as quality is concerned, guys, well, the design's quite nice, the quality of finish is very good. I like the bezel actions. I actually like the bezel actions on both watches, albeit, as you can see, I can do that with one thumb, they're too soft. So I do love the feel of it. I think the feel is beautiful, but it is a little bit soft. It would have been just a little bit firmer, so there's no accidental moving. The 40mm footprint, or 39mm, 39 and a half, is lovely. They sit like the 40mm, they both do. The fact that these watches offer free shipping and free returns, that's great. Engraving on the back if you want it, if you're into that stuff, again, that's a nice option. The fact that they offer also a second strap is another positive. The box, the presentation box that these things come in, that's great. They look great. And the fact that these things offer 2-year warranty. So I think, look, overall, at the discounted price for my viewers, these are fantastic. Honestly, let me know your thoughts, guys. It's a company, like I said, from Scandinavia. It's called About Vintage. There's quite a few watches on their website. I wanted to get this on the channel for you guys to review them, to see if they're any good. Decent quality, not without their flaws, but again, I've not found the perfect watch yet. Thank you for watching. Hit me up in the comments, guys, and we'll see you all in the next video.